AITA for leaving my SIL's house after she invited me over to not be alone but just wanted free childcare? Hey everyone, I, 25F, really need some outside perspective here because I'm still a mess and I don't know if I overreacted or if I'm justified in being so upset. This is a long one, so bear with me, I just need to get it all out. For context, I had to put my cat down a few days ago, and I'm absolutely wrecked. I know some people might roll their eyes and think it's just a pet, but he wasn't just a pet to me. He was my best friend, my emotional support, my little shadow through every high and low since I was a teenager. I got him when I was 15, a scrawny little rescue kitten I found at a shelter, and he's been with me through high school drama, my parents' messy divorce, moving out on my own, bad breakups, job stress, everything. I loved him more than I can even explain. He'd sleep curled up next to me every night, follow me around the apartment, and just be there, you know? Like, I'd come home from an awful day at work and he'd just sit on my lap and purr, and somehow it made everything okay. So when he got sick a couple weeks ago, I was already freaking out. It started with him not eating much, which wasn't totally unusual. He'd get picky sometimes, but then he started hiding under the couch, and I just knew something was wrong. I took him to the vet, and after a bunch of tests, they told me it was kidney failure. They gave me some options, meds, special diet, stuff like that, but it was clear he was in pain and it wasn't going to get better. I spent days researching, crying, calling the vet back, trying to figure out if there was any way to save him. But in the end, I had to make the call to put him down. It was the hardest decision of my life. I held him in my arms at the vet, stroking his little head, telling him how much I loved him while they gave him the shot. He just looked at me, and then he was gone. I don't even know how I drove home after that. I was sobbing so hard I had to pull over twice. I got back to my apartment and just collapsed on the floor, crying all night. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't do anything but stare at his empty bed and his little toys scattered around. I took the next day off work because I couldn't function, like, I could barely even get out of bed to use the bathroom. That's where my sister-in-law, SIL, 34F, comes in. For some background, my SIL, let's call her Jen, is my older brother's wife. They've been married for like 6 years, and they have 2 kids, a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. Jen and I aren't super close, but we've always been on decent terms. Like, we're not besties, but we chat at family gatherings, and she's always been nice enough. My brother works long hours at a construction company, so Jen's usually the one handling the kids and the house. I've helped out with the kids before, babysat a couple times when they had date nights, picked them up from daycare once or twice when Jen was stuck in traffic. I don't mind helping, but it's not like I'm their go-to nanny or anything. I work full-time myself, I'm a receptionist at a dental office, and I've got my own life to deal with. Anyway, the day after I put my cat down, I was still a wreck. I hadn't showered, hadn't eaten, and I was just sitting on my couch, scrolling through old photos of him and crying. My phone buzzed, and it was Jen calling. I almost didn't pick up because I just didn't have the energy, but I figured maybe she was just checking in. When I answered, she sounded really sympathetic. She said she'd heard from my brother about what happened with my cat, and she was like, "I'm so sorry, I know how much he meant to you. I don't want you to be alone right now. Why don't you come over? We can just hang out, and you won't have to be by yourself." I was hesitant because, honestly, I just wanted to stay home and cry in peace, but the idea of not being alone in my empty apartment sounded kind of nice. I thought maybe I'd go over, sit on her couch, maybe talk about my cat a little if I felt up to it, and just, I don't know, have someone there so I wasn't drowning in my own head. So I said okay, threw on some sweatpants, and drove the 20 minutes to her place. When I got there, I was already a mess. My eyes were red and puffy, my hair was a disaster, and I was barely holding it together. Jen opened the door, gave me a quick hug, and said something like, "I'm so glad you're here." I thought, okay, maybe this was a good idea. But then, literally 2 minutes after I walked in, she grabbed her keys and was like, "Great, let's go pick up the kids from school." I was kind of thrown off, but I figured maybe she just didn't want to leave me alone in the house while she ran out for a quick errand. I got back in my car and followed her to the school, still trying to keep it together. At the pickup, her son was on the jungle gym, and he didn't want to come down. I was just standing there, staring at the ground, trying not to cry in front of a bunch of kids and parents. Jen looked at me and was like, "Can you go get him? He's not listening to me." I was so out of it, I just kind of froze. Like, I could barely stand upright without breaking down, and now I'm supposed to wrestle a 5-year-old off a jungle gym? I didn't move, and she gave me this annoyed look, like I was being lazy or something. She ended up going to get him herself, and I just stood there feeling useless and horrible. We got back to her place, and I thought maybe now we'd sit down and I'd have a chance to just be. But no. As soon as we walked in, Jen was like, "Hey, can you help son's name with his homework? I need to start dinner." I was stunned. Like, I get that she's busy with 2 kids, but I thought she invited me over so I wouldn't be alone, not to be her unpaid helper. I didn't say anything, though. I was too exhausted and sad to argue. So I sat down with her son, who's a sweet kid but was not in the mood to focus. He kept squirming, asking for snacks, and I was trying so hard to be patient, but I could feel the tears welling up again. I kept thinking about my cat, how he'd sit next to me on the couch while I worked from home sometimes, and now he was gone, and here I was trying to explain addition to a 5-year-old while fighting not to sob. At one point, I tried to bring up my cat. I just needed to talk about him, you know? I said something like, "I really miss him. He was with me for so long, and I just can't believe he's gone." Jen barely looked up from chopping vegetables and was like, "I know, it's tough, but you're just having a moment. You'll feel better soon." A moment? I'd just lost my best friend, and she's calling it a moment? I tried again a little later, saying something about how hard it was to hold him while he passed, and she cut me off again with, "We don't need to dwell on it. Let's focus on something positive." I felt so dismissed, like my grief didn't matter at all. I get that not everyone is an animal person, but I thought she'd at least try to listen, especially since she's the one who said she didn't want me to be alone. Then it got worse. Her son had to go to the bathroom, and he needed help, wiping, washing hands, the whole deal. Jen looked at me and was like, "Can you take him?" I'm in the middle of this. I just stared at her. I'd been crying on and off the whole time I was there, my hands were shaking, I could barely think straight, and now I'm supposed to be on bathroom duty? I don't know if she just didn't notice how bad I was doing or if she just didn't care, but I couldn't take it anymore. I felt like I was going to explode, either scream at her or just break down completely. So I stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked out. I didn't say much. I think I mumbled something like, "I need to go," because I didn't trust myself not to lose it. I got in my car and drove home, crying the whole way. A couple hours later, Jen texted me, and this is where I'm wondering if I messed up. Her text said, "I'm really disappointed you just stormed out like that. The kids were upset and kept asking where you went. I was trying to help you take your mind off things, and you didn't even give me a chance to explain." I was so mad when I read that. Take my mind off things? I didn't need a distraction, I needed someone to just let me grieve. I thought she invited me over to be there for me, not to use me as free childcare while she got stuff done. I get that she's busy, and I know being a mom is hard, but I was in so much pain, and it felt like she didn't even see it. I replied, "I'm sorry if I upset the kids, but I was really struggling, and I didn't feel like you cared about what I was going through." She texted back, "I'm sorry you felt that way, but I thought keeping you busy would help. I can't do everything around here by myself." Now I'm second-guessing myself. I know this sounds bad, but I wasn't in any state to be helping with kids. I could barely keep myself together. I feel awful if I confused or upset her kids. They're sweet, and I love them, but I also feel like Jen completely took advantage of me. Like, she saw me at my lowest and thought, "Perfect, free babysitter." I don't think she meant to be cruel, but it felt so thoughtless. I haven't talked to her since, And my brother hasn't said anything either, but I'm worried he's going to take her side and think I was being dramatic. For more context, this isn't the first time Jen's done something like this. A couple years ago, I was going through a rough breakup, and she invited me over for girl time. I thought we'd hang out, maybe watch a movie, but she had me fold laundry and watch the kids while she ran errands. I didn't say anything then because I didn't want to make a big deal, but now I'm wondering if this is just a pattern with her. She's never really apologized for stuff like that, just kind of brushes it off like I'm overreacting. My brother loves her, and I don't want to cause drama in their marriage, but I'm so hurt right now. I keep replaying it in my head. Maybe I should have spoken up sooner, like when she asked me to pick up her son or help with homework. But I was so drained, and I didn't want to start a fight in front of the kids. I also feel guilty for just leaving without explaining, but I genuinely didn't trust myself to stay calm. I was either going to sob uncontrollably or snap at her, and neither felt like a good option. I'm still grieving so hard. Every time I see his empty food bowl or his favorite spot on the couch, I break down again. I just wanted someone to care, you know? And I feel like Jen didn't even try. So, Reddit, AITA for leaving my SIL's house after she invited me over to not be alone but just wanted free childcare? Did I overreact by walking out, or was she out of line for expecting me to help when I was in so much pain? I'd really appreciate your thoughts. I'm still a mess and just need to know if I handled this wrong. Thanks for reading all this.